You know, with it being Halloween and all, I probably should put some decorations up. There, all done. Welcome to this episode of The Guido Goes Off, where I'm going to be talking about WWE's Halloween trick or treat, depending upon how you look at it, the 2016 edition of Hell in a Cell. I'm gonna go through the card, give my notes on what I thought about certain on the matches. So let's start with the pre-show. You had a 6-man cruiserweight tag team match between Sin Cara, Lince Dorado, and Cedric Alexander versus Tony Nese, Drew Gulak, and Arya Daivari. If anyone read my timeline, you know that I kind of made fun of Tony Nese wearing a harness similar to He-Man, if you were old enough to get that reference. But, again, it was a solid effort by these guys. Of course, it just seemed like, hey, let's just, pick some names out of a hat. So clearly I need to add a cruiserweight booking jar to my set. The team of Sin Cara, Lince Dorado, and Cedric Alexander won. It's a solid effort, but again, nothing extraordinarily remarkable. Of course, it's something just to whet your appetite for the pay-per-view. The actual body of the pay-per-view started with the Hell in a Cell match for the United States Championship between Roman Reigns and Rusev. Now, I understand a lot of people were not happy, didn't think this was a good match, most likely because Roman Reigns was in it. Now, it did kind of seem a little Superman gimmick booking as far as the match went, because you saw Roman Reigns taking the majority of the punishment, and then all of a sudden making that big comeback. It wasn't surprising that Reigns won, given that he's still what Vince likes, but the match wasn't as horrible as everyone said it was, as everyone seems to think it was. At least not in my opinion. So, you have that wonderful comment section to yell at me. Again, like I said, it wasn't the best Hell in a Cell match, but not the worst. And we're going to move on. Next match was Bayley versus Dana Brooke. In my mind, this was the worst match of the card. And I'm not saying it because of the women involved and because of the talent involved. It was, again, simply booking. Pretty much booked similar to the previous match. It was Dana with all the offense, Dana beating on Bayley, and all of a sudden Bayley hulking up and making the big comeback. This match was pretty much how every Bayley match has been booked for the last 6 weeks or so. It just seemed like a squash match. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of people who know me, and I'm sure you've noticed, I don't have the highest opinion of Dana Brooke right now. And honestly haven't. And it's really no knock on her. It's simply, she was not ready to be brought up to the main roster. She's kind of like that cake you take out of the oven way too early. It's lumpy, it's deformed, and it's still pretty wet inside. I know that sounds dirty, but what I mean is, she wasn't finished developing. I believe she came out of NXT way too early. She hasn't had the chance to really learn the ropes. She hasn't been in the business that long. And to book her like this against Bayley, honestly, you're not doing either woman any favors. This is clearly kind of one of those haphazard thrown together matches and haphazard thrown together feuds. Kind of keep these ladies busy, or at least keep Bayley busy, while the grown folks, as you will, are fighting over the Women's Championship. Again, Bayley won. Moving on. Enzo and Cass versus Gallows and Anderson. Enzo and Cass came out first. Do what they do best. Get the crowd going with their in-ring promos. Then Gallows and Anderson came out. We had a match. It was, and it was nice to see Gallows and Anderson win. I mean, this was a must-win for Gallows and Anderson because ever since AJ left and ever since they've been on their own, they've been treated as a joke pretty much ever since the brand split. I believe I mentioned it in a tweet, that these guys were the greatest, that Cole mentioned that these were one of the greatest tag teams in the world, but clearly they haven't been booked that way. I mean, between whatever the hell crap they were doing prior to SummerSlam with the ring postitis and ball jokes, clearly it's this. You almost think it was punishment for Gallows and Anderson, because we all know WWE has never looked too favorably on talent that have made their name outside of the company. Now, Enzo and Cass, I know they've been on kind of a losing streak, but honestly, they didn't need the win as much. They are over. I mean, you give them a mic, it's basically like Eminem said, and lose yourself. Or was it? As an Eminem song, give me a mic, show me where the stage is at. Those two guys light it up with their promos. I mean, you can have your basic tag team booking where Enzo sets the table, Cass sits down to eat, and it works for them. Those guys are selling T-shirts. They're getting over. As it stands right now, you can kind of have them in the state that they're in, and they're going to get over. They're going to get a positive reaction. So Gallows and Anderson with the win with the Magic Killer on Enzo. Moving on. Now, as we all know, it was leaked how the card was going to go. So, in the middle of the match, you have the Universal Championship match. It was the second of the 3 Hell in a Cell matches, and it was between Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins. These two guys always solid. These two guys put together a hell of a match. Of course, you had a referee issue with the referee. They opened the door. Jericho snuck in, and it became this 2-on-1 beatdown. Where Owens retained. Again, I mean, this is kind of good. It's going to continue this feud, but now you're at that point where it should end. And I mean, and not the feud between Owens and Rollins. This is made for some decent television, which Raw has needed to build on. But this partnership between Owens and Jericho. I was talking with my friend Mike, as you guys know, from Mike and the Guido / Budget Wrestling podcast. Owens and Jericho, it reminded him, and we talked about this, of the situation in, was it 2000, with CM Punk and Paul Heyman, putting Heyman with Punk. Owens can get over on his own. He gets the reaction he wants. He is great on the mic, great in the ring, does not need the help, and yet he has been put together with Jericho, much like Punk was put together with Heyman, but not to that extent. It's a situation of you put too much into it, and now you've got the point where Jericho, and definitely the list of Jericho, as entertaining as that is, has become a detriment. It is taking away from this dynamic and from this feud. So here, hoping coming up tonight on Raw, at least before Survivor, or at least either on the road to Survivor Series or at Survivor Series, you drive that wedge in between, because clearly that needs to happen. And I think that feud is going to happen before Jericho leaves, which I believe is towards the end of the year, if not early 2017, where Jericho is going to go back to doing one of his other things. I think Fozzie's working on an album right now, so that. Okay, moving on. The Cruiserweight Championship up for grabs. TJ Perkins defending against Brian Kendrick. I've said, I don't know if I've said this publicly, this is the kind of feud that the Cruiserweight division needs. Something to get things going. The problem is the crowd seemed checked out as this match was going on. I mean, it could have been an issue of, much like a Japanese crowd, quiet, respectful, and intently watching, but this is America. And honestly, I think it was simply, you had, what people thought was a big match, and we're kind of checked out. This seemed like a cool-down match. As you know, leading into it, Kendrick seemed a lot more desperate. That he needed to be Cruiserweight champion. And he was actually begging Perkins to let him win. The match was, good back and forth. You saw Kendrick doing what he's been doing. Very sly, very ring savvy. And Perkins doing his excellent ring work. The big spot was Kendrick seemed to land awkwardly during slice spread number 2. He was grabbing his knee. The ref was checking on him. Perkins showed concern. Sucker! And that's when Kendrick got the captain's hook in. Perkins tapped out. Kendrick wins because your new Cruiserweight champion. It said that these two are going to be on Raw, but it's I hope it's not an immediate exchange of the title, because as great as Perkins has been, you need to build on the depth in the Cruiserweight division. I mean, you got some great talent in there. And what the hell was Rich Swann doing on the pre-show panel? That man is money and should be in the ring. Tag team title match. The New Day taking on Sheamus and Cesaro. You finally saw it happen in this match where Sheamus and Cesaro were finally working together. It's unfortunate that Vince is butthurt that Demolition has joined the concussion lawsuit, because that's why the New Day retained. You can tell me otherwise, and I respect your opinions, but here's mine. The New Day is stale. The New Day has gotten old. It's simply the only, as far as I can tell, the only reason to keep the tag team titles on them is to break Demolition's record, as they're only about 50 days away from breaking it. It's basically the New Day is a box of Bootios that's well past its best by date. The titles need to come off of them. There might need to be a feud going on. I know there are people who really like the New Day, and you should like them if you do. I just think it's old, it's tired, it's done. And the Sheamus Cesaro dynamic is actually quite interesting. Because, odd couple tag teams, I think are really fun. But anyway, New Day wins, and it's by disqualification, oddly enough, where Kofi Kingston attacked Sheamus. That is another part that I think has gotten stale. You have this 3-on-2 dynamic every single match with the New Day. And these guys are supposed to be the faces. You have the good guys cheating. Does that make sense at all to anyone? Probably not. I mean, it sure doesn't to me. So, again, New Day winning. Main event time. History in the making. For the first time, the women of WWE have headlined a WWE pay-per-view, and the first time the women were in a Hell in a Cell. Rampage from present 2 years ago! But, you have Sasha Banks defending the Raw Women's Championship against Charlotte in the Hell, in the Cell. Kinda. I mean, right before the Cell lowers, Charlotte cheap shots Sasha, then go to the outside. They work each other over, and then comes the big spot where Charlotte powerbombs Sasha off the Cell into the German announce table. It breaks. You know, Sasha is selling the injury. They bring out the EMTs, and then as they're about to reward the match to Charlotte, recovery by Sasha. As my friend would say, she rolled a 20, natural save, and Sasha gets back in there. They go back and forth. You know, with Sasha taking hellacious punishment, and Charlotte winning. Becoming now a 3-time women's champion. A lot of people were upset with this. A lot of people have complained about this, that Charlotte won again in Sasha's hometown. Where they feel Sasha needs the win. In fact, actually someone on Twitter actually compared the way the WWE's booking Sasha to the way WWE booked Paige 2 years ago, where she came on the stage, she was wildly popular, and then they're like, "Well, fuck you, then we're done with you. We're invested in Charlotte." I think actually, given it's Halloween, compared WWE's booking and creative to the nun in The Omen that's about to hang herself. It's all for you, Charlotte! It's all for you! So here comes my problem. Here come my issues. Alright, 1. Yes, it was a good Hell in a Cell match. Yes, Sasha sold out. The whole thing. She, again, Sasha sold it out. Again, great effort in her hometown. 3, it's a show. People need to ease up on it. And, so Sasha lost. More than likely she'll get the shot again. Now, many of you know my personal feelings towards Sasha Banks, and of course they're not stellar, but they're not great towards Charlotte either. To me, this was a throwaway. You can say it's history making all you want, and yes, in a way it is, but it's clear WWE spent all this time getting Charlotte over, trying to make Charlotte sound like the second fucking coming of the, like she herself is the savior of WWE's women's division. But you forget all this great talent that they have, and that has been putting her over, and in the process has gotten hurt a lot trying to get her over. I think Paige is on the shelf because of her. Becky got hurt at WrestleMania because of her. And Sasha has been paying a hellacious physical price. I mean, good God. Did Charlotte take a single big spot in that match? No. It was all Sasha taking all the punishment. Now, from what I'm understanding, the finish seemed a little weak, but that was because the table didn't break. And I kind of didn't expect it to. I mean, Sasha's a tiny thing. And you're expecting her to break that table. you're going to need a lot more force than that. I mean, you got your. This wasn't one of those breakaway announce tables. This was a regular, standard, ordinary, run-of-the-mill folding table. You're going to need a lot of force to break. You're going to need more force than that to break it, even if you do your proper gimmicking of it. The fact is, as much as there's a lot of people behind Charlotte or behind Sasha, I'm not one of them. I think Sasha's played. I mean, I understand there's a lot of people that think that she's something fresh and new and innovative, but you're entitled to your opinion. And Charlotte, it's simply backstage politics. It's kind of like, it's basically Nikki again. But this time it's not because she's John Cena's girl, it's because she's Triple H's girl. I'm thinking in more ways than one. But that's neither here nor there. It is clear they want Charlotte to be the face of their women's division, and the rest of the women can apparently go to hell. It's woohoo, Charlotte won, but as I said before, Charlotte has seemed timid in the ring. She has seemed scared. And honestly, she is going to get someone where she has gotten people hurt and is going to get more hurt. She is not safe at all. That's why I believe this match was a huge mistake. Because Charlotte is going to hurt somebody. And I'm wondering if she did. Again, thank you guys for watching this episode of The Guido Goes Off. I hope you all have a happy Halloween. All the kiddies, be safe out there when you're trick-or-treating. And if you're having a party, have fun, be responsible. As I've said before, I'm going to be in costume live tweeting Raw tonight. So stay tuned to my Twitter at r_man_Guido to see what pops up. I am the Guido, and I think we're done here.